The NFL season is officially here. It's the Bet Las Vegas Odyssey Sports, and I guess it's finally time for me to start talking some Raiders football. But per usual, I'm not just here alone, ladies and gentlemen. The Odyssey Raiders contingent is in the building. They go by the name of Silver and Black today. Scott Branson, Mo Moten in the building. Fellas, the first game was last night. The weekend is upon us, which means the Raiders are going to be playing football in Mile High. We'll start with Scott. How are you, my friend? How was the offseason?
It was good. It was busy for Mo and I. We kept busy, and all of the listeners entertained and up to date and full of opinions from both of us, right, on the Raiders and the season rolling up. So it's good. It's going to be busy, of course, as you know, Adrian. All of us who work in the business, football season is a nonstop grind. But I'm excited. Last week was the last Sunday without football until like February 18th. So I'm good to go.
Damn straight. And plus, you guys have been working out here. We got plenty to talk about just within the Silver and Black today metaverse, universe, whatever you want to call it. But Mo, how have you been this offseason, my friend?
I've been pretty good besides the shots I've been taking on Twitter X from some of the takes I've had in the preseason. Pretty quiet up until, I would say, Tuesday morning. Maybe we'll get into that. But a lot of Raiders football to talk about today.
Oh, you want to listen? We could start off with the drama here really quick. So hold on a second. I do, as we start this off, I do need to admit something to you guys, and maybe this will dictate the tone of this preview for the season. But this is what my third year going fully into sports radio, and I can honestly say this is the first years where I look at the Raiders going into this season, and I'm confused. I'm upset. I don't know what's going on. And Mo,
Really?
what happened? We'll get to what happened on Tuesday because I'm actually unaware and I'm kind of intrigued because whenever there's tea, I want to be involved because I'm nosy. I'm that type of guy. But listen, guys, like I just said, these are the couple question marks that I have going into this season, and the biggest thing that I can't answer. So I'm going to ask you guys, and Scott, we'll kick it off with you. What's the goal this season for the Raiders? Truthfully.
So I think the goal would be what it is every year, which is to win football games. Now, how many football games and where do they go? I think it is, without them calling it, and Mo and I talked about this all summer, it's a rebuilding year. It's a retooling year. However you want to paint it is what it is. You got rid of your quarterback. You got rid of your tight end. You had a lot of roster turnover. You went to Jimmy Garoppolo, big risk, but you went for that risk. They got Josh Jacobs in the board. So I think this is a step year to retool in the mode that Josh McDaniels wants to build this team and that Dave Ziegler wants to build this team. So, we picked them anywhere between 7 and 9 wins this season. So is this goal to win a championship? I don't think they're there. But is this goal to get better, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and get more consistent in the red zone on offense and maybe win a few more games than they did last year? To me, that's it. I don't know if I gave you a definitive answer, so maybe I'm as confused as you are.
Mo, we'll send it to you. Clear this up for us, my guy.
I think the clear, I don't want to say the priority is always winning, right? But I think the Raiders are more focused on the future and player development than they are, saying, okay, we have to win 10 games or make the playoffs or else we're going to clean house. Vic Tafur wrote something in The Athletic saying that Mark Davis understands, Dave Ziegler understands, this is a developmental process. They don't want to use the forbidden R word that Scott used, rebuild. Whatever you want to call it, it's kind of a recharge year. Let's use that word. It's a recharge year for the Raiders, and they're hoping to get a lot from their young players down the stretch and in the season, because if they can get a lot from their young players, it could provide a bright future.
Yeah, and you guys, both of your guys' points to start this off, you guys both mentioned basically the roster makeup, which for all intents and purposes, most of the roster is gone. This is now Ziegler and McDaniels and the roster that they wanted, and a lot of hints of New England within this Raiders roster. So before we get into some of the other things, we'll start off with you again, Mo. What do you make of the roster makeup now that we have the final 53?
The offense should put up a lot of points. And I talked about this with Scott on our most recent show. The Raiders are spending the 5th most cap dollars in their offense. Josh Jacobs is back. Devontae Adams is highly paid. They gave him an extension once they acquired him. They brought in Jacoby Myers. Hunter Renfro's still there on a fully guaranteed contract. The offensive line is solid. They brought back Jermaine Illuminar. As we all know, Colton Miller's the stalwart on the left tackle. So their offense is good enough to score with some of the top teams in the league. It's a defense that we're worried about. I don't know how many weeks Scott and I have talked about, are they going to bring in a linebacker? I've been campaigning to trade for Patrick Queen. It hasn't happened yet. Yes, they did bring in Marcus Peters, but can Ja'Cory Bennett live up to the buzz that he generated in the offseason and be that cornerback number 2? Or is it Faison that starts on the outside? Or is there Nate Hobbs that sees more snaps on the outside like he did last year? I think Nate Hobbs is fine in the slot. Then it's the defensive line. You have to get pressure on the quarterback. How much help does Max Crosby get up front when it comes to getting after Patrick Mahomes, other quarterbacks, top quarterbacks that they're going to see, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert? So there was news about Chandler Jones. We'll see what happens there. But the point is Tyree Wilson has to come along at some point. Was injured, missed just about all of training camp, but I'm expecting Tyree Wilson to hit his stride in the second half of the season. And if he does, Max Crosby, Jerry Tillery, Bilal Nichols, and those guys will have some help up front, getting some pressure on the quarterback.
Was that what the drama was about, Chandler Jones, Mo? Because the way you chuckled. Let's just get into it. What happened?
So Tuesday early, I wake up like I normally do on a Tuesday. I have my grits and eggs and bacon topped with pepper. All right. I look at my phone. My phone's blowing up. And I'm seeing screenshots. Once I see screenshots, I know, social media struck again. Something's going on IG or Twitter. And lo and behold, there are screenshots of Chandler Jones saying basically he wants out of the Raider organization. He's taking back his gifts that he gave Josh McDaniels. He wants to get in contact with Alden Smith and Antonio Brown. And basically, the Raiders have locked him out of the gym, so he couldn't work out. So that could be what tipped this off. And he has to work out at a local gym instead of working out at the facility. So this kind of tipped off a whole social media tirade about maybe Chandler Jones is a bit unhinged.
Yeah, and Adrian, I was shocked because
Look at Adrian's face.
usually when Mo sends me screenshots, there are these young ladies who are trying to date him, and so I get these screenshots from Mo from Chandler Jones on what's going on here. But what season doesn't kick off with a little Raider drama? Isn't that just kind of part of the DNA?
Oh my goodness! Listen, guys. My responsibilities at the station have changed. I got my hands in like 50 million different things. I'm not aware of any of this. That's my bad. This is nuts. And you know what? Yeah. We'll get to Chandler in a bit because we're going to play a game of over and under as I steal ideas from The Athletic, like everyone should. But let's get into, I guess, some of my qualms, as I said in the beginning, and my attitude towards the Raiders this season. You bring up a rebuilding year, or whatever you want to call it, year 2 of this, in my eyes, to be perfectly honest. And last year, I didn't think it was going to be a rebuild year, but that's what it turned out to be, due to what happened. But the roster construction, from, if you want to start off with the contract extensions to Renfrow and to Waller, to then get rid of one of the players and be rumored to get rid of the other, although Hunter Renfrow is still on this roster. But speaking of him, this offseason, you go sign another wide receiver. I didn't think wide receiver was one of the problems on this team. And not only do you sign a wide receiver, and you didn't break the bank to sign Jacoby Myers, but you signed a wide receiver whose best position is utilized in the slot. So, like, why do we have 2 really good guys in the slot? That didn't make sense to me. Mo, you said that this offensive line is solid. I would still say it's bottom tier. It's not the worst in the league, but I think it's bottom 15. All the holes on defense and some of the money that's being spent. I could even go into Jimmy G. You signed Jimmy G, and Derek Carr to me last year was not very good. He was horrible. All right, I was not on the Derek Carr side. If you follow me on Twitter, you'd know that with some of the things I posted. But the one thing I'll give him credit for is he was not afraid to take a shot down the field. And because of that, and because of the greatness of Devontae Adams, there was so much attention and so much coverage spent on Devontae that it helped Josh Jacobs kind of get space to run and do what he did. Now, when you have a quarterback who can't do that, that's not a part of his game if he stays healthy, like some of these moves, I just don't understand. I'll give him credit. Like Darren Waller, I understand there was problems. Last year, I talked to you guys about it because I kept going, why, when he's healthy, why isn't he getting the snaps? He's not a good run blocker. They run that power offense. They do a lot of two tight end sets, and they like to do these things. So I understand some of the decisions, but overall, like, this is why I started this off with, what's the goal? Because I don't know what they're doing. And when you look at the valuation, that's great that they're worth $6 billion. But when they're also the highest ticket price in the league, fans have every right to be as PO'd as possible when this team isn't successful, because this is year 2. And to me, I think this is a fireable year if things don't turn out well. So that's my question to you guys after my monologue. Is this a fireable year for Ziegler and McDaniels if this doesn't turn out well?
I'll start off by asking you a question, Adrian.
Go ahead.
The Raiders have had a revolving door with their GM head coaching positions. Has that worked for them? Has that worked out well for them?
Nope.
So I think Mark Davis looks at that. We all have seen the revolving door. I think he's going to give Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels at least another year, unless the locker room completely turns on Josh McDaniels. And I said this during the offseason that the smart thing to do when you're a head coach who might be on the hot seat, you bring in guys who you're familiar with, because they're less likely to turn on you if things go sour. So if the Raiders go 4-13, that locker room was full of former Patriot guys. Those guys want to win, don't get me wrong, but they'll give you more leeway if they are comfortable and familiar with you versus some guys that have no history with you. They're like, look, this is a losing team. You as a head coach have a losing record. I want out. But when you have a bunch of your guys, it kind of gives you more leeway. And as I said, it hasn't worked for the Raiders to kind of have a revolving door. So I think Mark Davis sees that. He wants to give Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels at least 3 years together.
So
and Adrian, I want to jump in on this too, because I'm going to challenge your thinking a little bit on the Raiders. You brought up the valuation, the $6 billion. And listen, fans have the right to be upset if their team doesn't do well. I agree. It's been 30 years since they've been not doing well, for the exception of a couple of years. Okay. That has nothing to do with Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler. It has zero to do with them. So that's like me blaming the current president for the economic troubles of 1981. I can't do it. It doesn't make any sense. So I think fans have to be upset if their team doesn't show progress, right? So I think last year was disappointing. I mean, look, they blew 5 double-digit leads. 5, right, Mo? It's 5? It wasn't 7, was it? Or am I starting to go up now? 5. So Josh McDaniels didn't do well last year. So he's got a lot to prove this year. So I think you're right that there's a lot of pressure on him. I also agree with Mo that he's going to get, I think, this year, unless he loses the locker room. If that happens, then all bets are off. But he's got a locker room more favorable to him, as Mo mentioned earlier. You bring in Jimmy Garoppolo. Your most important position on the field is the quarterback. And if he's in your camp and he's a really good locker room guy, just ask any of the guys in San Francisco. They're going to keep that stuff in line. So while fans are getting impatient, and I agree with them, I think this year I've been saying it all offseason, you have to see progress. That means even when they lose games, have them lose games where they come back, or it's a close game and that one play just doesn't go their way, where you can say, okay, they left it all on the field. You could see them getting better. You could see the coaching getting better. But if it's like last year, then yeah, it would be a different story.
And thank you. You're calling me off the ledge. I would respond with, well, if I look at the past history of Patriots, if I look at the past history of the Belichick tree, outside of a couple years with Mangini and what Vrabel's done in Tennessee a couple years, I'll be like, well, what? Like, there's nothing for me to fall back on to assume that this is going to get better. But
that's fair.
You gotta have some faith. You got to have some faith. And you know what? Why don't I switch it around? As we head into this year, what are you highest on when it comes to the Raiders?
Boy, I like, Mo and I just talked about this on the show. I like what I'm seeing from the interior of the defense, what we saw in the preseason, because I think, we're talking about Chandler Jones, we're talking about Tyree Wilson, we're talking about Max Crosby, of course, because he's stellar. But really, what the Raiders have failed to do over the last, 6 seasons or so, is create consistent pressure up the middle so that you can free up your edge guys. And so I like the kind of rotation they have there, and some of the young players like Byron Young, who hasn't played a lot, obviously, yet, in there. Jerry Tillery, who was a cast off from the Chargers last year, who played well for them at times last year. I think that defensive front, I'm a little excited about that. And then I'll put second, just because I think it's obvious, which is just the offense. This offense, if Jimmy G stays upright and stays out of the trainer's room, it has the possibility to be very high powered. with all the weapons they have with Michael Mayer, with Austin Hooper, with, of course, Devontae Adams and everybody else and Josh Jacobs. So those are the two things I feel excited about. And I know defensive linemen on the interior aren't usually something everybody's excited about, but hey, we're football junkies.
Mo, go next.
I'll say the potential in the secondary. I'm a big Jacorian Bennett guy. I actually think he's going to lead the team in interceptions this year, not Marcus Peters. Speaking of Marcus Peters, a veteran on the outside who can at least give you serviceable coverage on the boundary. I'm still high on Chris Smith II, even though there wasn't a lot of buzz on him this offseason. I think he eventually works his way into 3 safety looks. And also, I'm looking for Trayvon Merrick to take another step. And if he does, I think that secondary could be a lot better than people think. I also think Nate Hobbs has Pro Bowl potential in the slot. So really excited about the secondary. There's a lot to prove there. Don't get me wrong. It's young outside of Marcus Peters, but I think there's a lot to look forward to on the back end of that defense.
It is your Raiders season preview here on the Bet Las Vegas, joined by the crew at the Silver and Black today, Momo and Scott Cole Branson. And I was going to flip it and go, what's the thing that you're not highest on, that you're kind of worried about? But I think we've kind of answered some of those questions, mainly the defense. So we'll skip that. Before we get into over and under, I do need a bold prediction from you both. I need one for the Raiders and one for any other team in the league. Your NFL league bold prediction. Scott, we'll start with you.
Wow. So for the Raiders, a bold prediction. I would say that you'll see Michael Mayer near the top of the AFC in receptions and yards for a tight end. And then as far as the rest of the league goes, and we just wrote about this up on sportsnot.com, I got a lot of Bengals this year. I got Joe Burrow winning the MVP. I have the Bengals beating the Cowboys in the Super Bowl, and I have Jamar Chase as the offensive player of the year. So a little bit of taste of what I'm thinking as we head into this weekend's action.
Should have thrown a flex bomb on that. I wasn't prepared for that. You came in strong. Mo, how about you?
Josh Jacobs repeats as the rushing champion because Zamir White is not ready to handle a ton of carries. So Josh Jacobs, again, over 1,500 yards, becomes a repeat rushing champion, gets his bag in 2024 on the market. I also have the Jets going to the AFC Championship game with Aaron Rodgers, not because I'm in the great city of New York, but because I think with that defense and Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson, that's going to be a lethal connection. Jets get to the AFC Championship game.
Well, New York's all right. It's all right.
A little bit.
It's not Vegas. It's not Vegas, but you know what I'm saying.
A lot of hate there, Adrian.
Hey, man, listen, you're the one paying $5,000 for that place you're living in right now. You
see, I'm in a broom closet right now for $2K. So
yeah, that's
there you go.
You're living in the Big Apple, baby. All right. Speaking of stars, let's play a little game of over and under. And our new star at quarterback, Jimmy G. Very simple. You either think it's going to be over or under. Jimmy G, 3,000 passing yards this season. Scott, you're first.
I will say over.
Mo?
I'll say easily over, and this may be bold, but I think he gets to 4K for the first time in his career.
Okay, next one. Jimmy G, 19 touchdowns this season. Over or under?
I'm going to go with 21 touchdowns.
Mo?
I'm going to go with 25 touchdowns.
Wow.
Okay, over. All right, well, Mo, I know where you're going with this one. Josh Jacobs, over 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns, 10 rushing touchdowns this season. Over or under, Scott?
Over. He's going to get, I'm telling you, I feel it. I don't know why. I feel they're going to need Josh Jacobs so much that he's going to be in the conversation to get to 2,000 yards. He won't get there. I think he'll get shy of that. I think he'll get more than Mo's 1,500. But yes, on all accounts.
Mo, you're going yes, right? You're going over, right?
Absolutely over.
Okay, Devontae Adams. This one's going to be 3. At least 95 receptions, 1,000 receiving yards, and 10 touchdowns. Over, under.
Wow.
Over. I even if Jimmy Garoppolo goes down, I think Aiden O'Connell comes in. Not to say he looks as great as he did in the preseason, but I think he's good enough to get the ball to Devontae Adams.
It's my boy. Anyway, Scott, go.
Yeah, I think Devontae Adams is in the conversation for Offensive Player of the Year, which will go to a wide receiver who I already named. But I think Devontae Adams. I think this offense is going to click. To Mo's point, doesn't matter who the quarterback is. I think you're still going to see a lot of yards, and you're going to see a lot of offense by these weapons.
All right, we got 2 more over and unders for the offense. Hunter Renfrow, 700 receiving yards this season. Over or under?
Way under. We're in
Both.
lockstep.
Yeah, way under.
That was unanimous.
Yes, it was. All right, Michael Mayer, 3+ touchdowns this season.
10 touchdowns. Easy. You ready? Money. Bank it. Go bet it now. Go to Circa, wherever you go, bet it.
565 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns for Michael Mayer.
Yo, you guys have this offense being like the Chiefs. What is going on here? All right. Explosive. I like it. I'll be down for it. Let's head to the defensive side of the ball. Max Crosby, over or under 9 sacks this season?
I'm going to say over. I'm going to say he's going to have 14 sacks.
That was one of my bold predictions. I'll go over 15 sacks.
Chandler Jones and Tyree Wilson, 6 sacks each, over, under?
With what happened with Chandler Jones this week, I'm going to say undecided.
And A on the ballot.
Punt.
Yeah, probably under. And with Tyree Wilson, I'm going to say just about. I'm just going to.
He's going to push.
It's going to push. I'm going to say 6.
it.
Yeah.
I knew it. Under. I think Malcolm Kuntz is going to be the surprise contributor on the edge.
Oh.
He's going to be the guy to be second to Max Crosby in sacks this year.
Mo's the Kuntz fan club president, by the way.
2 more. Forced turnovers by this Raiders defense. The number is 15. Over or under?
Mo, you go first.
I say under, only because they've been last in the last 2 years in interceptions. I have to see it. Now, I did say Jacory Bennett will lead the team with interceptions, but I have to see it before I go over on 15. So I'll say under.
Yeah, I would say under too, because not only because of recency, but also I think the talent is much better. We talked about it earlier, but I don't think they're athletic enough to be a turnover making machine. I think they're another draft or 2 away from that. So I'd go under as well.
All right, so this is the last over and under. And this one, I'm putting this in this fancy little box for those of us watching on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to both of our channels, by the way. Josh McDaniels, over, under 2 blown leads this season. Mo, starting with you.
Oh, Raider fans are going to hate me for saying this. I say over because the defense, Scott just alluded to it, the defense just isn't where it needs to be, where I'm comfortable with it protecting leads. The offense will get leads, but I think the defense will blow more than a couple this year.
Yeah, I would agree. And I'm so happy you're staying on the positive side of things, Adrian. I would say that, yeah, that definitely over. But I would say this. I think with the offense, and Mo and I both think the offense can be very high powered. I think they might blow leads and then come back and win games, which I think they had trouble doing because they couldn't score in the red zone with Derek Carr. So I think you might see some of those situations where they blow leads and come back and win, and then you'll see some where they blow leads and don't. So it'll be a very mixed bag.
I should have did an over-under on how many Saints games Raiders fans are going to watch, but we'll move past that because it's in the past. Okay, so we have to do Super Bowl picks, and we have to do Raiders overall record. But before we get to that, this is therapy for me. Let me get the negativity out of the way. This is another question that I want you guys to look me in the eyes. If I'm a Raiders fan, how excited can I be if what I ask you is true, which is this? Do the Raiders not have the worst quarterback in the division?
Wow, some mental gymnastics going on there.
Is it though?
Worst quarterback?
It's close because Russell Wilson,
Yeah.
he hasn't looked like he's bounced back yet. If Russell Wilson is only incrementally better than he was last year and Jimmy G stays healthy, assuming he's efficient in the red zone at the very least, I think he could be the 3rd best quarterback in the division if Russell Wilson is still pretty much a pumpkin from last year.
Well, Scott, is it mental gymnastics because of Patrick Mahomes being arguably the best and Justin Herbert being in the top 5 arguably? Is that No. I mean, you're absolutely right about that. And Justin Herbert, who Raider fans think is a terrible quarterback, which befuddles me, are both clearly better. There's no question about that. I think it's the question of who's the worst. But you're saying it's being the worst in that division might not be a bad thing. That's like saying, hey, you're number 10 in the AFC. Well, guess what? And the AFC's got a lot better quarterbacks. So I think that yes, but you look, I think Jimmy G, the one knock is the healthiness, right? Staying healthy. He's been to a Super Bowl. How many has Justin Herbert been to?
Okay, the other two guys have been there, but I'm a big Russell Wilson fan. In the preseason, he looked like, I take my dog on a walk and I take a plastic bag and I have to pick something up with it. That's what he looked like. So I'm with Mo on that. I think he could be the third best quarterback, all depending what happens with Russell.
I was just making I was making two assumptions with Russell. That he couldn't be as bad as he was last year, which was absolutely terrible, just based on himself as a player in his history. Although age, quarterback, it can happen. I will admit that. But then also just the difference of Sean Payton being in charge. So I made a leap just because of those moves as opposed to Jimmy G. But all right, I asked the question. I don't want to keep arguing about it. I just
no, but you know what though, Adrian?
But I have that in the back of my head, Scott, this entire season.
And I it's a common discussion, so I'm not faulting you for it at all. But I will say this one caveat, and the Raiders are playing the Broncos this weekend, and we just had yesterday on our show Benjamin Albright talk about the Broncos. Sean Payton doesn't play linebacker. Sean Payton doesn't catch the football. He doesn't throw the football. He's a great coach, but I think they're so overrated. And I think having a coach come in the first year inheriting talent, I don't think Sean Payton's going to get as much out of the Broncos as people think. So anyway, I just had to get that off my chest. It's a pet peeve of mine.
No, I mean, it's fair enough. It's also interesting because, Sean Payton making some of the comments about Nathaniel Hackett, coming in spicy. I think because he was on Fox and he was on TV for a long that year. He's like, we just talk crazy whenever we want. All right, so let's get down to business and close this out. I guess before we'll close out with the Raiders record. So that means we need to make our Super Bowl picks. Who are you going with, Mo?
Super Bowl pick, and we shared this on Sports Not. For me, it's Bengals 49ers in the Super Bowl with the Bengals taking home the Lombardi Trophy.
Scott?
Yeah. So Mo and I are similar here. I also have the Bengals winning it all and going to the Super Bowl. But on the NFC side, as much as it pains me, I have the Dallas Cowboys. I think they actually, for once, get it done, and their window's going to close pretty quickly because the Dak Prescott contract's going to kill them.
But I love that you say that because if you look at your history, we can find the tweets. You've been leading the Trey Lance fan club. So to see that culmination was just fantastic to see. I completely made that up, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's close it out.
I was like, what?
You're like, what are you talking about? Raiders record this season. Mo, what are we going with?
I know I spoke a lot of positivity in the offense. Like I said, I'm still concerned about the defense. And the cumulative result of that 7-10 Raiders, though I can see them eking out an 8th or 9th game, but I think 7-10, which was my initial prediction for them before when the schedule came out, sticks.
Yeah, I was one win better than Mo in my prediction. I had them at 8 wins when we did this back after the draft, I think it was. But now I have them at the opposite. I have them at 9-8, possibly 10-7. And again, caveat, Jimmy G says healthy. So I think they have the ability to do that. I think they're actually going to surprise some people. They're flying under the radar. They can quietly go about their business. And I think that can be dangerous in this league.
So no one's going to predict like a 1-3 start. Brady comes back. Let's go. Let's get this thing started. All right, we're staying in here. I like the vibes. And look,
you talking about Wayne Brady? Who are you talking about?
Oh, Mr. Thomas Brady, the guy from Michigan. Anyway, UNLV. Go make the upset in the big house, please. UNLV this weekend. Against Michigan. Yeah, I know. They lost to Appalachian.
But
it might happen.
Hey, they look good in their win against Bryant. So, I mean, when you play a college that's a man's first name, you better win. You better win. And you know what, though? Hey, I'm excited. For the first time in a long time, I'm excited about UNLV football, excited about my alma mater. He looks like he's got it together. He brought back the old Rebels logo from the heyday in the 80s with Randall Cunningham. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, whenever you can go up against a community college, you got to pull out the W, and that's what UNLV did. So shout out to them. And look, I want to let people know football season's here, but Silver and Black today did not stop. So after the game on Sunday, not only are they going to have post-game coverage, and I'm going to let them get into everything and everywhere you can find them, but you want to go back and you need more football because you're in football mode. They've been doing podcasts throughout the entire offseason, so go check them out. As just like last year, we'll be rotating. Mo and Scott will be joining us throughout the season as we break this down here on The Bet. Plus, you can hear them on The Bet and plenty of other places. Time to plug, Scott. Go for it.
Yeah, I will start because Mo's got his own plug because he's a big deal in New York City. So we got to get to him in a second. He's even got his own T-shirt now, Adrian. I'll let him tell you about that.
Yeah, give us the merch site too, by the way.
We will do that. But I will tell you now, yes, we are on the bet. Now we're on Saturday nights at 5 o'clock. So no more early Sunday mornings. You can listen to us when you're eating your dinner on Saturday. Get that Saturday before game day dose of Silver and Black today. But you can always subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your audio. We're going 4 or 5 times a week. We also do a post-game show as well with our good friend Murph from Raiders Fan Radio. So you can join us on there and just follow us on Twitter, SNB Today, and sign up for that on our YouTube channel, as you mentioned earlier. Now it's Mo's turn.
So one thing Scott forgot to mention is that we also have shorter shows, Silver and Black Blitz, that will be releasing in the middle of the week, just in case some breaking news happens, something like the Chandler Jones incident happening on Tuesday. We'll have a Silver and Black Blitz as Scott put that out on Tuesday. For me personally, just me, not Scott, not the tandem. Bleacher Report lives for every Raiders post game over on the Bleacher Report app. Of course, I'll have some shows during the week, Monday and Wednesday in the evening. The times will vary, but just look out for that Mondays and Wednesdays on the Bleacher Report app. Sports Not, I'll have a weekly column over there too. For the betting folks out there, I have a betting column out there. So if you're an emotional bettor for the Raiders, I'll tell you when to bet on the Raiders and when to not, when to hold that close to the vest over on Bleacher Report. Those columns will be released every Thursday morning.
And lastly, Adrian, thank you for being. And people are like, these guys with their damn plugs.
No, you guys are out here. Let's go. Keep it going.
Make sure. I mean, Mo and I both write up on sportsnot.com. Mo, of course, has his Bleacher Report, his national duties. But when it comes to Raiders coverage, check us out on sportsnot.com as well. So we certainly appreciate you guys supporting the work up there as well.
Oh, this is fantastic.
Also, don't forget the Midtown Mo t-shirts. I just ordered a bulk for people. For my people in New York City and for my people in the Carolinas, South and North Carolina, Midtown Mo t-shirts and hoodies because we're getting into the fall season. Get those Midtown Mo.
Adrian, have you never heard Mo's theme song?
No, I've not played it.
Okay, listen, this will come through. You ready?
Yeah, we can't hear it. We can't hear it. But just
can't hear it.
Dude, send it to me. Well, I'll dub it over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you got a theme song? You guys. By the way, for those
can't hear that.
No, we can't. We can't.
Damn StreamYard.
Yeah, StreamYard's acting up. What's up with these shirts? Can we get these shirts?
DC4LCustomTees.com. Just type in Midtown Mo in the search bar. You can get a discount off that. SNB Today is the discount code. That's SNB Today. Make sure you get those. $4 of the proceeds go to One Nation Foundation, which is connected to Fred Blitnikoff Foundation. So it's going to a good cause, not just in my pocket, not just to stroke my ego, not just to stroke the show's ego, Silver and Black Today, but again, a good cause supporting Murph, who's been on our show for the post games in the preseason and will be during the regular season.
And you can also get your Aiden O'Connell, your Irish Cannon t-shirts. Same deal, $4. Go there. Mo's got so much money he doesn't need the money, so that's why we don't take any money from the shirts.
What are you talking about? He has to pay his $5,000 rent. So
exactly,
we got to make sure this things happen.
Exactly.
Listen, it's been cool to see you guys work your guys' ass off, and be available in a whole bunch of different places. I look forward to talking to you guys throughout the season. You guys are allowed to plug for 20 minutes straight. Why not? I can walk out the room because you guys deserve it and you guys are putting in work for it. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll do it throughout the season, fellas.
All right, man.
Adrian.
Take care.